Yep, so we've taken information out of the repository, out of the catalog, and populated it into, did some ETL on it, and populated it into a table so that we could read it from a reporting standpoint.
Is that
A little bit, yeah. It's not a straightforward operation. So now I'm getting into the logical table and column. And if I go one step further, I can now even get the whole way back to a physical database table and column. So I can see, in one sort of complete picture, and I can even actually set up this report if I wanted to go one step further and go all the way back to the source system if I wanted to. I didn't include that in this report, but in one complete picture, I can start the whole way at a dashboard page, go all the way back through my metadata, all the different layers of my metadata, and if I wanted to, I could throw the source on here and get all the way back to the source system. So again, this is very powerful from the standpoint of administering and maintaining your system over time, especially in a mature OBIEE environment, where we talked about how you can get back to a metadata environment that might look like this, where you've got all kinds of databases where things come from. You've got all kinds of business models that you've done all this joining of information and defining new calculations and build all these presentation layers for users to build reports off of. All of that gets very complex over time to the point where, especially when you, like I showed on this slide, we get into the lots and lots and lots and lots of dashboards that you can create over time. So in the interest of time, let me just kind of stop there and let you guys ask some questions.
How do you keep it synchronized with changes?
Right, so you do have to generate decide on what kind of load process that you want to run through. Is it something that's going to be done daily? Is it something that's going to be done every time you do a migration? You need to decide, is this something I'm going to do in my production environment? Is it something that I want to do in my development environment to maybe track incremental, day-to-day changes as people go through and develop things? So yeah, you kind of have to decide, from a load processing standpoint, how often you want to do this, and then run it so that you get those changes. Sure. So without a doubt, it's definitely more technology-centric in terms of the people that use it, because its benefits are largely about administering and maintaining the system over time. That said, I have talked to some customers about, they do have these other database tables that have definitions of columns in a more business-friendly term. They want to, because if you remember a couple screens ago, I showed it was sort of right in the middle here in orange. It was the calculation expression. That wasn't very business friendly. So they have other tables, and you could certainly join in those tables, in the metadata layer for this to actually be able to pull up business definitions alongside. And then at that point, you could start to have, specific reports maybe on a help page dashboard that would allow them to, query specific columns to understand how are these defined. So I would say today the audience for something like this has been more sort of technology centric, but there's no reason why you couldn't have information in there that would be valuable to the business as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you use this to track the new versions of Informatica as maps get altered?
So that's a good question. So we So I mean, this is something that we've spent a lot of time building, and you know, over time we kind of recognize other areas where we can add improvements to it. One area that we're actually currently working on is adding the ability to have that versioning capability. You know, where you basically say, here was what my environment looked like before I migrated, here's what it looked like after I migrated, you know, what are some things that have changed. We don't have, you know, in what I have built up here, we don't have that capability yet, but that's definitely something that other people have, you know, suggested as something that would be valuable from an administration standpoint. So that's there, and in the same token, it would be beneficial to have that ability to compare between environments as well. Here's what my dev environment looks like, here's what my production environment looks like. Or, you know, for some of, I don't know, in all of your cases, if you guys will end up deploying OBIEE, some companies deploy OBIEE, they have sort of an internal OBIEE and they have an external facing OBIEE that people outside their company can access. Maybe it's suppliers or distributors or customers or you know, people who are outside the sort of company firewall. So they actually have two different catalogs of reports going in the same OBIEE environment. They want to be able to sort of compare those as well. Do you have another question?
I mean, I guess I'm just trying to, I mean, I guess a general summary of what you're saying is that the out-of-the-box OBIEE definitely doesn't really provide very much impact analysis capabilities. So
Correct.
there is need to build something on top of it. I mean, just thinking through what you've shown, we're a data stage shop, not an informatica shop. But I could see how you could do something similar using the metadata inside out of data stage.
Yep, out of the data stage repository. Absolutely. Yep.